Hi, I'm David. We're down here with the Getting to Know Maui show down at the
Peak Performance.
Peak Performance. Just right down the street from Makaku. This is Lisa Tishner. She's agreed to do an interview on the show. Lisa, how are you this evening?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good.
Good.
Thanks for being on the show. I'd like to welcome you onto the show from myself, from Makaku, and also from the county of Maui. Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
So, tell me a little bit about Lisa.
Tell you a little bit about me.
Yeah, about Lisa.
I'm originally from California, unfortunately, but from Los Angeles, and I've moved here about 7 years ago. I've had family, though, on the Big Island since I was young and have been coming over here for many years and always loved it, but never thought I could make it work and find something that I could do that I enjoy doing and make a living being here, but I've been fortunate. So I moved over here, 7 years ago, and never going back to the mainland. I love it here.
Really?
Yeah.
Not even just to go visit?
Well, I go visit. I mean, my father's side of the family is in Reno, Nevada, so I go there and periodically vacation elsewhere, but, you know, it's always nicer to come home, so this is, you know, being in an environment like this is like a vacation.
So tell me about Peak Performance. What are you guys doing?
Peak Performance Gym is a great gym. It's on Alamaha, like you said, down the street from Makaku, across from the giant paint can and Dell's Farm Supply, and it has a boxing school, which is Wailuku Boxing, which is mostly who's here right now training. Jeff McKee is the instructor there. He's fabulous. He's been doing it for many years. And we also have Brazilian Freestyle Jiu-Jitsu, which is my school, with Ermin Fergestrom. He's the black belt instructor, and we're going to be doing a class later this evening. Periodically, we have other instructors from schools come here and they teach classes as well, but mostly it's Wailuku Boxing and Brazilian Freestyle Jiu-Jitsu.
So, tell me a little bit about Jiu-Jitsu. Brazilian freestyle.
Yes.
I know nothing about it. Tell me.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, actually Jiu-Jitsu is Japanese originally, and it's been done for many hundreds of years. It was actually originated in Japan when the soldiers were fighting. They would be wearing armor, and the only points that were vulnerable were their elbows and ankles, the points where they had to be flexible and be able to bend in the armor. So Jiu-Jitsu was based on things like elbow, joint locks, and things like arm bars, which is what it's known as today in fighting, and foot locks and ankle locks and knee bars, chokes as well, because the neck was open when you had, they had their helmet on and their armor, but you could usually access the neck. So the idea of Jiu-Jitsu, Jiu-Jitsu means soft art or gentle art. It's meant to be able to submit your opponent without doing a great deal of harm to them. So you can choke somebody unconscious, but so that they're not dangerous to you or themselves anymore, or do things like, break their elbows, but it doesn't do permanent damage. And it's also called a soft art because when you watch people that are really good at Jiu-Jitsu, at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's like a flow. They roll, they call it rolling, and they roll, and you see people, it's more like a chess match, but you go from one move to another move to another move, and the Brazilians adopted, a guy from Japan went over to Brazil and studied with actually a guy named Gracie, who just passed away last year, but he kind of invented his own form of jiu-jitsu, which is more, it's like submission wrestling. It's kind of like submission wrestling. It's ground fighting, grappling, and then again you have submissions like, foot locks and knee bars and arm bars and wrist locks and chokes. And now there's also tournament style jiu-jitsu, so you'll see, and you can watch jiu-jitsu tournaments where guys are competing from standing up, and they use things like judo throws to get the guy to the mat, and then they work for points and submissions.
So what made you decide to learn Brazilian jiu-jitsu?
I was introduced to it. I actually originally was interested in boxing. I went to art school in California, and something appealed to me about wanting to fight or do some kind of self-defense or feel a little bit more empowered as a female, so that I, had that kind of confidence. And growing up in Los Angeles, I mean, it's an urban environment, and there's a lot of crime there. And so I wanted to originally take boxing because I didn't know a lot about martial arts or different kinds that were available. So my father was actually training with a guy who taught boxing, and he referred me to him. And the guy said to me, I will make you a deal. I will teach you boxing 1 day a week if you come a second day a week and let me teach you something else, practical self-defense. I said, all right, whatever, that's fine. So that's exactly what we did. He taught me boxing 1 day a week, and the second day a week he was teaching me, which I found out later was a lot of it was jiu-jitsu, which he felt was a lot more practical than boxing, because most attacks, especially against women, you're going to end up on the ground and oftentimes on your back because somebody's heavier than you. So he felt that it was important to teach me something that would be practical in a fight, and as it turned out, I was really interested in that. I ended up liking it a lot more than boxing. I love the boxing, but it was something that I needed an instructor to help me with. I couldn't do on my own doing the jiu-jitsu. So then I moved up to the Bay Area, to San Francisco, and I asked him how I could continue to train, and he said, well, you can find a Gracie JiuJitsu school and you'll be okay. And fortunately, right by my work was Health Gracie JiuJitsu Academy, and I was there for 2 years. And I knew as the day I signed up that I would continue to do it forever. And that was over 9 years ago.
9 years.
That I signed up. Yeah.
You have to teach people that.
Yes, I could. And it's been incredible. I mean, it's such a huge part of my life now. I can't imagine not doing it. And I think that's true for anybody who gets involved in martial arts. And I think everybody should be involved in some kind of martial art. Jiu-jitsu is not for everybody. Boxing's not for everybody. Judo, Aikido, whatever it is that somebody can get passionate about, I think it's an important thing to add to your life, to enhance your quality of life. And for some people it's discipline, respect, meditation, whatever they use it for.
So, how long have you been on Maui?
I arrived the beginning of February 2003, so that will be 7 years next year. I mean, originally when I came here, I was doing theater. I was producing and directing theater. That's what I did in LA for years, and New York and San Francisco. And so I came to become the artistic director of the EAO Theater. That's what I did for the first 2 years that I was here. And I directed some shows, and I taught theater. I taught the summer program at Kamehameha schools. I taught, I did a one-act festival at Seabury Hall, which was great. Got to work with the kids up there who were very talented. And I did some teaching, some acting workshops. And then I left the EAO Theater and started working with Maui Academy of Performing Arts when they built their theater at the Kahumanu Center. So I helped build that whole space and put that together. And then I kind of shifted gears. I enjoyed doing theater, but it was different than working in regional theater and Broadway shows in Los Angeles, and it was a tough thing to do for a living. So I kind of had been dabbling in real estate as a hobby, and I kind of decided, well, maybe I should be working full-time in real estate and part-time in theater rather than the other way around, and I could actually have a living and, come up with a retirement plan. And I feel that I am able to contribute a lot more to the theater community now than I was able to when I was working, 80 hours a week just trying to keep that place going. So, you know, I'm doing the shows I really want to do. I'm working on a volunteer basis on the committees there, and I really enjoy doing that a lot. So I'm going to be directing The Wedding Singer next summer at the EL Theater.
At the EL Theater?
Yeah.
Maui
So if you
on
want to
stage?
audition for that, yeah, Maui on stage. So,
I don't know if I could do all the lyrics on all the songs.
yeah, you got to sing and dance. If you can't dance, the choreographer is going to kick your butt out of there. He's pretty strict, but
Depends on what kind of dance.
80s. It's all 80s, totally 80s. You're going to have leaps and then we'll do some cheesy rock video stuff, but yeah, but it's not all dancing. I mean, not everybody has to dance. Most of them will have to dance, but
Maybe somebody out in the audience is interested in
that's
coming.
right, yes. And if you do want to audition for The Wedding Singer, auditions will be in April, probably the second week of April at Maui on stage.
So if somebody wants to learn how to do jiu-jitsu with you, how do they get in touch?
Well, I'm at Peak Performance Gym. We have classes. I'm here Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays at 7:30, and Saturdays at 12:30. Well, we do MMA also, mixed martial arts training. So Saturdays are usually dedicated towards MMA, and I think Wednesdays are also MMA. Tuesdays and Thursdays, there is a class Thursdays too. I'm just not here usually on Thursdays, but where they do it with the gi, it's more formal jiu-jitsu with the uniform, which is very important actually. Using the gi, people don't, a lot of times fighters don't understand the benefit of using the gi because they don't fight wearing the gi, which makes sense. They have to train without it too, but usually when you train with the gi, you get much better at your defense because people can grab your uniform and choke you and, you know, use that against you. So you have to get really good at defending submissions, whereas without the gi, no gi training makes you get really good at your offensive because it's very slippery. There's not a lot to grab onto, so you have to be excellent in your technique to be able to get a submission, an arm lock, or a choke on somebody. So yeah, I encourage people to do both. There was a women's self-defense class, but we really don't have any women right now doing jiu-jitsu. Well, we have a couple that come on and off, but I really think it's important for women to learn some self-defense. Even if you just come and learn basics, it makes a huge difference in terms of how you feel, and a lot of people just come for the exercise too. It makes you really strong, core strength, and gives you really good base and balance, because you need that to be good at it. So we'll be here. We're doing a big project next year. We're participating in the Live Like a Champion project, which is through BJ Penn and Tom Callis over in Hilo. And we're going to be participating as a school here, Brazilian Freestyle Jiu-Jitsu. So people who are part of that program, you don't have to be part of the program, you can still come train, but if you want to be part of the program, it's an excellent challenge. It's, you know, you kind of set your own goals of what you want to accomplish throughout the whole next year, and we help you to achieve those goals. So, you know, some of the things, I'm going to be working on some of my weaker areas in jiu-jitsu, like mount escapes and takedowns, and then my stand-up footwork. Those are some of the goals I've set for myself to just get better at. So I'll be working on that, and then, you know, some of our students are participating in the project. So it's going to be really exciting, actually. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Name's David James Heckman. I want to thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for watching. And from now until later, a hui-ho and aloha.
I stretch in the morning.